Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you joined us for the Australian Rare Earths and Critical Minerals Conference. Our next presentation is from Resolution Minerals. Please note you may submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides, and you can view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings by clicking Book a Meeting in the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Craig Lindsay. He's the Chief Executive Officer of U.S. Operations for Resolution Minerals, which trades on the OTC QB venture market under the symbol RLMLF and on the ASX under the symbol RML. Welcome back, Craig.
Hey, John, really good to be here. I want to welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I happen to be speaking to you from Canada today, but I'm going to talk to you about a project down in Idaho. And it's all going to be about gold. It's going to be about antimony, going to be about tungsten and some silver. Just before we get going, there is a disclaimer. I'd like you to just read this while you're listening to my presentation. Keep all of those disclaimers in mind. Give you a little bit of an overview of Resolution Minerals. We are an Australian company that got into the critical metals and gold sector in Australia, actually, with a couple of projects. The Horse Heaven project became available to them this past summer. And the Horse Heaven project happens to be in Idaho, but just like the projects in Australia, it's gold and it's antimony, big focus of this company. What do I want you to take away from this presentation today? Couple of highlights here. We are critical metals. It's a critical metals driven story with a big halo of gold in the background. Secondly, as I mentioned, we are in Idaho. We are right next door to Perpetua's Stibnite mine, which is a fully permitted gold and antimony mine that is financed and going into production probably in 3 to 4 years. So we've got the exact same geology that they've got over at Stibnite. From an antimony perspective, we've got some really high grade material. We think we're on a pathway to production. When I say high grade, we've got antimony grades up to about 50% with excellent silver and gold kickers in with that antimony. From a gold perspective, it's a wonderful story. We just started announcing some gold numbers, over 200-meter intercepts in the 1.5 gram range with mineralization starting right from surface. Same kind of story that you have at Stibnite. And then the other thing that would be of interest to U.S. investors, we are on the OTC QB market, but we're going through a process to list on NASDAQ. Why are we doing that? Honestly, the ASX market has been wonderful to us. It's a very active market from a natural resource perspective, but we are a U.S. project. And we think there's just a lot of rationale to market this story to U.S. investors and get some support from the U.S. This project will require a lot of money down the road, and U.S. capital markets are deep and wide, and there's a growing interest in this area. So Horse Heaven, it's in Idaho. As I mentioned, Idaho is a very friendly mining state. You've got phosphate mines in the southeast. It's very well known for they call it the Silver Valley up in the Idaho panhandle. They're base metals. We've got copper, we've got molybdenum, big gold endowment in the state, and a growing interest in critical metals in Idaho. So we are in a great state. I think the fact that we are right next door to a fully permitted mine says a lot about the permissibility for permitting in the state of Idaho. We've really got a mirror image to what they've got at the Stibnite mine. So I think location is fantastic. Past production, the Horse Heaven project has produced both tungsten and antimony historically. Antimony in particular was produced in the First World War, the Second World War, through to the Korean War. So it was produced to support the American war efforts in those various conflicts. The other thing to keep in mind, we do have some of this very high grade antimony samples. One of the samples we've announced was 49.8% stibnite. It was 1,420 grams per ton silver and 3.1 grams per ton gold. So all very positive. From an antimony perspective, I think you guys are here listening to a critical metals and rare earth story. So I think you understand a lot of the story behind critical metals. But just from an antimony perspective itself, most of the antimony globally is produced out of China. China has shut down sales to the US. The United States government has put on a very, very dedicated push to develop domestic supplies of these critical metals. Antimony is right up on the top of the list. So we're definitely in the right metal. Going to the Horse Heaven project, what we are trying to accomplish out here, and this may sound aspirational to you folks, but we are going to make it happen. We want to create a full service soup to nuts processing solution for antimony and tungsten. In the very near term, we think we do have potential to produce antimony because of these high grade veins that we have right at surface that are sitting in these old open trenches, which I'll speak to a little bit. And then in the medium term, it's going to take some time, but we are off to the races with developing a significant gold deposit. And I'm comfortable saying that simply because we've just put down 10 core holes. We've announced the first 3, and they're extremely strong drill results with very thick intercepts with very strong grades. This story really, from a geologic perspective, is virtually identical to the intrusive related gold system they have at the Stibnite mine, and I really think it has the potential to be Stibnite 2.0. There's 2 targets that I'm going to talk to you about today. Well, really 3 targets, but the 2 highest priority targets are Antimony Ridge. That's where it produced antimony historically. And then the Golden Gate target, which is where we've been drilling, where there's a historic gold resource out there, and we've hit these really nice gold intercepts. Golden Gate is also where we produced tungsten historically on an intermittent basis, but they produced tungsten right through to 1980. Antimony Ridge, we talked about this high grade 50% antimony numbers. That's very, very high numbers. Stibnite is less than 1% on their antimony grades, just to give you a comparison. The past production tells us a lot about the permittability of this project going forward. We've got a big mineralized footprint at Antimony Ridge. It's 1 kilometer long, known by 0.7 kilometers wide. And with this high grade that we have at surface, we think there's the potential to scrape some more of this high grade ore off the surface and either permanent it locally with a modular mill or ship it to a third party. These are these old trenches that I talked about. These trenches are about 3,000 feet long, and they cover an elevation of about 1,000 feet. And through sampling across all of those trenches, there are veins coming out where you get up to this very high grade material that I've talked about, but also a bunch of lower grade sub 2% stibnite material disseminated throughout this rock. So it's Antimony Ridge is an exciting story. We are going to be doing a substantial drill program out at Antimony Ridge to define a resource out there, but all things point to what we think is going to be the next antimony deposit in the United States. Golden Gate is an exciting story for me because I'm kind of a gold guy historically. This is a large open-ended system. It's 3 kilometers wide or long by about 1 kilometer wide, this Golden Gate target. There's a 200,000 ounce historic gold resource. It's non 43-101 compliant. Historically, the drilling at Golden Gate has been shallow drilling, so they never drilled beneath kind of 350 to 500 feet in depth. We've gone down deeper into the sulfides, and as you go into those sulfides, the mineralization increases, which is fantastic. And the mineralization is starting from surface. So very, very good potential to grow a significant deposit out there. At Golden Gate, we also see tungsten. And not we, but the Horse Heaven project produced historically first from an open pit, and then they went underground. And that mineralization was milled originally at the Stibnite mill next door. When Stibnite shut down in 1950, there was a mill called the Johnson Creek Mill that was built at the bottom of the hill. We've acquired that mill site, which is exciting, and we've acquired a stockpile of tungsten, all that came off the Golden Gate target. So all very kind of exciting from a gold perspective. This is one of the holes that we put out. You'll see 253 meters of 1.5 grams per ton. It's mineralized from surface. You'll see this 3 kilometer strike length. This is a big, big story with the potential to very easily host 2 to 3 million ounces of gold. And I'm being somewhat conservative when I say that. We really think we're onto a big story here. There's another thing I want to talk to you about, and this is the third target. This is where I start to arm wave a little bit. There's a significant buried intrusion that lies directly beneath the Horse Heaven project and the Stibnite mine, and that's what drove mineralization at both the Stibnite mine and at Horse Heaven. We've got a 15,000 acre project. We own 100% interest in it. It's been very lightly explored. The first thing that we're doing, and you'll see this in the map on the right, we're doing some stream sediment sampling work to try and, as a first step, to try and identify some elevated minerals in there that will lead us to the next target to go after. We'll also be doing ground-based mag work to go and identify some targets, but this is a target rich environment out at Horse Heaven. And I think these roof pendants that come off of this buried intrusion hold excellent mineralization over on the Stibnite mine side of the intrusion. We think it has the same potential over on our side, and this is this intrusion related gold system that I spoke to. Near-term production potential, we feel because of these high grades and these very, very nice banded veins of high-grade material that produced historically during the First World War, the Second World War, the Third, or the Korean War, there is a real potential for us to go and expand those trenches and start pulling out high-grade material as they did in the past and start to meet this demand from the U.S. For the development of a strategic stockpile for antimony. This is going to take some permitting support from the federal government. It's not necessarily going to be a super clear path, but given those high-grade near-surface antimony, we think it's realistic, and we are starting to look at options to make that happen. From a team perspective, my background's corporate finance, investment banking. I've been in the mining industry, junior natural resources for years. I've been involved in companies that are in production, right down to exploration projects. Probably most importantly, it's not me that's driving this story. It's the guys on the ground, Bill Breen, geologist, Alan Roberts, geologist. They're fantastic guys. They're Western US guys. Bill Breen has been involved in the project for over 12 years. A guy named Austin Zintzer, a lead consulting geologist for us, has worked at the Stibnite mine for 12 years, understands the rocks, loves what he's seeing coming out of the holes. Alan Roberts, also a geologist, but a really great operational guy and can run projects in difficult locations. We've got a strong permitting specialist, Eric Klepfer, also an Idahoan guy. So we're spending a lot of money in the state of Idaho. The other people I want to point out here, Brett Lynch, Steve Promnetz, they're Australian guys who have been in the critical metals space and have had some good success with a couple of companies. Sayona Mining, Lake Resources, which had great runs, they've been brought in to help us advance this soup to nuts production story. Wonderful guys, and they are working very diligently on this process. They are advisors that are not there in name, just in name. They're rolling up their sleeves and working hard. I did talk briefly about the U.S. listing. This is something that we think makes sense just because of the deep markets in the U.S. We're also spending some time in Washington, D.C. We've got a government relations expert called Thorn Run Partners has been retained to help us knock on doors. And we're in the process of upping our listing to NASDAQ. What are we going to be doing? What's coming forward from an investor perspective? We've got 7 more holes to release from our Golden Gate drill program. We've submitted some of this high-grade antimony to a company called Kingston Process Metallurgy for metallurgical testing work. We're actually going to produce an antimony end product from this high-grade material. We're going to be doing a very significant drill program at Golden Gate next year to expand the gold footprint, hopefully the tungsten footprint, and we're doing work at Antimony Ridge. So we're permitting to do an expanded drill program at Antimony Ridge. Just give you a bit of a background. We're trade on the ASX under RML and on the OTC RLMLF. Market cap about $150 million Australian. It's the typical Australian structure, 1.8 billion shares out, but the company trades very well. There's a lot of interest in the story. We're funded. We just completed $27 million in financings. So we're in a good place from that perspective. And that's sort of run through this quickly. But that's the story. I want to open it up to any questions that you folks have. I see some stuff coming in here from permitting. Can you please speak to the permitting situation in Idaho and at Horse Heaven? Yeah, so we are on, great question, and that's probably one of the first questions you should ask. We are on Forest Service land. We're in the Boise National Forest. Reputation for being the most difficult land to permit on in the United States versus, say, the BLM, or obviously on private land. But we've developed a really good relationship with the Forest Service. They've been wonderful with us. We've got a first permit that was permitted under a categorical exclusion. They've let us make some amendments to it. They've been, I think, quite happy with us because of the work that we've done, the quality of our work out on the project. So not without its challenges for sure, but one of the things to keep in mind at Horse Heaven, there's no historic environmental liabilities that we're dealing with, such as they have at the Stibnite mine next door. There's a lot of government money that seems to be available for critical minerals. What is the status of resolution with respect to government money? Great question. So we have been, we've retained a company called Thorn Run Partners, and we're going through the process. We've introduced ourselves to the governor's office in the state of Idaho. We are going, and who is very supportive of mining, exploration, development, critical metals. We're introducing ourselves to the Idaho congressional delegation, looking to get their support, and we are going to be knocking on doors with the Department of War. The current administration does have a number of different programs to support critical metals development. there was a recent Australia-US critical metals and rare earth framework that was signed about 3 weeks ago. So we're hoping to capitalize on that. So far, the doors I've knocked on in Washington have been opened very readily, and we hope to progress those discussions to an end goal of getting some government support. Can you speak to Idaho itself as a mining state? Yeah, so it's Idaho, we are in the right place, very mining friendly. As I said, I think it's ranked seventh by the Fraser Institute from a mining friendliness perspective. There's a lot going on in the state of Idaho. I got into Idaho from an exploration perspective probably 14 years ago, and honestly, I would spend the first 40 minutes of a presentation pointing out where Idaho is and what the state's like. Now everyone has a familiarity with Idaho because of all of the big gold projects that are getting developed. The Stibnite mine is in the news practically every day. It's a wonderful story, Stibnite, by the way. It's a big deposit. It's got lots of potential to grow. So they're getting lots of play. Government money is flowing into it. Investor capital is flowing into it. Agnico Eagle just put money into the Stibnite mine next door. So there's not the resistance to, hey, tell us about Idaho. We're nervous about it. Idaho is very, very supportive of mining activities, not just exploration, development, and mining. So very pro business state. The governor, Brad Little, has put something in place called the SPEED Act, which seems to be trying to get federal, state, and local people to work together and permit on a parallel basis rather than one after the other. So we love Idaho. It's a great state. I think that's the last of the questions. I want to thank you guys for listening to my presentation. Please jump on if you'd like to have a one-on-one with me at some point, get a little bit more information about the project. I will be overseas, so we'll have to slot some times, but I'm looking forward to chatting with some of you guys one-on-one. Again, thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to welcoming some of you as shareholders of Resolution. Thank you very much.